Hello, my name is Mallory DeVille, and today I will give you a brief introduction on Group M's company analysis on Chase. And first, I'll start off just by introducing the team members and letting you know what section of the analysis each member will be covering. Okay, as stated, I'm Mallory DeVille. I will cover the introduction, and the outline is pretty much what I'm doing now just by introducing each member. Up next, we have Jesus San Miguel. He'll be covering the vision, mission, and SWOT. Then we have Alex Ledesma, who will cover the strategy and competitor analysis. And rounding things off, we have Jeff Roca, who will cover the concepts and conclusions. Throughout my introduction, I'll just be hitting on a few brief points. I'll start with the beginning, the 1800s, the 1900s, and then I'll move into the 2000s and beyond. As we all know, banking is of vital importance to everyone. I mean, I couldn't live without it today. And Chase has been of great relevance to the banking industry. Chase's history pretty much parallels with the United States. They both grew up together. And throughout that, they've had their conflicts along the way. And one of those conflicts, I would say it's become one of the more famous acts in American history. But from that, Chase emerged a company stronger than ever, and ready to take on any challenges that lay ahead. And today, I would say their character is a great reflection of that tradition. So moving on to this duel, it became the Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr duel. Alexander Hamilton was the Treasury Secretary at that time, and Aaron Burr was the Vice President. Alexander Hamilton was a part of the Federalist Party, and they pretty much controlled the world. There was one bank that they controlled, the Bank of New York, and if you were not a part of their party, you couldn't get in. So Aaron Burr, he was a pretty smart guy, and he convinced the Federalist Party, including Alexander Hamilton, to loan him some money so they could start a company together, the water company. But unbeknownst to Alexander Hamilton, Aaron Burr's whole initiative at this time was to start his own bank. So when the Federalist Party and Alexander Hamilton himself caught on to what Aaron Burr was doing, it started a conflict between the groups. And Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr ended up hating each other. They were going back and forth pretty much as politicians do today. Well, to put things in short terms or simpler terms, they were like, hey, let's stop all these bickering back and forth. Let's handle this like men. Let's go outside and duke it out. Well, that didn't turn out too good for Alexander Hamilton because Alexander Hamilton was shot and killed by the vice president, Aaron Burr. But in the end, Aaron Burr, he got what he wanted. He created and opened his bank, which was called the Bank of Manhattan Company. Now let's move into the 1800s. In the 1800s, banking was still a developing industry. It was controlled by the states and politics. There were some states that even prohibited banking, but those that allow it, they were taxed. They taxed the banks at a high rate. So the only people that could open the banks were these lucrative companies that had money. They had the money to open their own bank. But the people came up out of this. They were not going to be bullied. So they decided to start national banks. And from this, John Thompson created the Chase National Bank in 1877. Now let's get into the 1900s. Some of you may not know, and I didn't even know until I started researching this, but there were a lot of American marvels that were created through Chase's involvement, through Chase's financing. Some of those, just a few, are the Brooklyn Bridge, the Panama Canal, and our own Houston Ship Channel. Just think, without Chase, you wouldn't have received any of these marvels that still exist in the world today. The banking industry also changed as a result of the World Wars, the Great Depressions. After that, a lot of restrictions were loosened. A lot of mergers and acquisitions took place. Investor sectors were created. Retail banking expanded. And Chase's global expansion, their global presence, it just exploded. But in my opinion, the most important thing that took place in the 1900s was the marriage of the computer and the banking system. And hence you have the ATMs and the debit card. If you think about it today, I could not live without an ATM, the retail banking, It's so convenient. So you have to go back and be appreciative for what we have today. And finally, we have the 2000s and beyond. In the year 2000, they formally became known as JP Morgan Chase and Company. They are the leading global financial services firm, and they exist in over 50 countries, serving 1 million customers, which I happen to be one of those customers. And if you look at this right here, you will see that Chase has many, many companies under their umbrella. It's just unbelievable. On my little pie chart, they are the market share. It shows the market share of the largest U.S. banks, and who's there? J.P. Morgan Chase. So in my opinion, Chase is my customer because they're available everywhere. I mean, you could go to the next state or the next country, and there'll always be a Chase. So to me, Chase is always and will remain the most powerful bank in the United States. And with that, I'll conclude this introduction, and up next you'll have Jesus, who will be covering the vision, mission, and SWOT. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jesus, and I'm discussing JP Morgan Chase's vision, mission, and SWOT analysis for the company. So let's get started. So to begin, at JP Morgan Chase, they want to be the best financial services company in the world. Now, on that scale, a company should have core values. Now, they did list them in their statement, which is they have a commitment to integrity, fairness, and responsibility, all of which are key values that help drive this company forward in the financial industry. Now, this company they believe that when working with customers' investments, they should be very forthcoming and transparent in their practices. This includes discussing prospects and their business practices. They also have a promise to doing the right thing, to do what's right. They go on to say that doing the right thing, not necessarily the easiest or the quickest thing, but the right thing at all times. And finally, the company is determined to make its shareholders, employees, and customers and community proud. I am currently a Chase customer, and reading the statement makes me feel very proud to know that I am banking with such a reputable company, especially one that gives back to its communities and not just its stakeholders as shareholders. Moving on to the SWOT analysis, strengths. Now, the first one I have listed here is their brand name. This company has been around for quite some time, over 200 years, and I believe one of the strengths comes from the name itself. Now, as I've said, this is one of the largest and oldest banks in the United States, and some people may see this longevity as a very good strength. The next on the list is a diverse and empowered workforce. Having such a diverse workforce, especially number one, you have 235,000 employees globally. One of your key strengths is that these employees are going to be interacting with customers, and you want to make sure that they're empowered or make them feel proud about where they work. So this company has 70 business resource groups that mentor employees, that they give these opportunities for employees to network, to get to know other people that they may not get the chance to do so while they're working in their current role. And they also have programs in place to develop, advance, and empower minorities, which I think is wonderful. Again, not only customers are benefiting here, but the employees are too. They're building their character, they're building their career, and they're doing that by interacting with customers, which is increasing satisfaction. Very great deal there. And next is the expansion of Chase QuickPay. Over the years, mobile to mobile transferring of funds has increased. Just last year, Chase reported over $20 billion in transactions just for this mobile device. And I believe this is a key strength for the company. Next is weaknesses. Now, concerning their weakness, number one, the company had not been very ethical and doing so is subprime lending practices. And basically what that means is issuing loans to those who may have had difficulties maintaining their pay schedule, meaning they had bad credit, the company knew, but yet they still gave out these loans. The second is unethical foreclosures. Back in 2011, this company foreclosed on 18 homes Now, these weren't ordinary homes. These were homes of active service members, and they actually they violated a law, which is the uh, Service Member Civil Relief Act, which prohibits banks from foreclosing on homes for active duty service members. This kind of practice is seen negatively throughout the community and bad media. Another weakness is the attrition of 19,000 employees. Now, on that scale, when a company loses that many employees, it looks very terrible. People may not want to trust in this company, but one of the reasons was, the court had ordered this company to pay $13 billion for the alleged bad behavior related to mortgages and mortgage-backed bonds, which ties into the subprime lending practices. Next is the opportunities for this company. Now, I'm sure you're aware that across the pond, Britain has started the process to withdraw from the European Union. This definitely gives Chase the opportunity to acquire different opportunities across other countries, as well as bank acquisitions. Now, this company has grown consistently throughout the past 200 years by acquiring other banks. There's no reason they should stop this practice now. They should continue to do it. And as I was mentioning, with the investments in other countries and with Britain, currently the value of the pound has gone down. What that means is the pound's conversion against the US dollar is lower, meaning it's cheaper to buy and invest in that property. And I think that's a great potential and opportunity for Chase to go over and take over some of that market over there. Next is tax reform. Now, Donald Trump, I've been following his campaign. He's definitely advocated for tax reform. He has said this himself, that he would push for lower corporate taxes, and the banks have released statements as well, backing Mr. Trump, saying that these income taxes will help make a modest contribution to economic growth, and has reduced taxes on capital gains, which the banks will predict and encourage investment. Now, I'm not sure that this is going to happen, but banks, financial institutions do feel that there might be investment. With all this extra money that people are getting back, they're going to want to invest it and spend it, and that'll help the economy out. The next opportunity I've listed is the CEO, Jamie Dimon, has considered as the Treasury Secretary. Now, that's not necessarily true, but just the fact that it's speculation, it's in the media, I think gives great publicity, not only to the CEO, but of the company that he's CEO of. I believe that customers would want to flock to Chase, make sure they open an account to know that, the CEO once worked at this institution, and my money's backed by the Federal Treasury. That's just my opinion. Lastly, threats. Talking about threats. So when you have this many companies across the world, all over the world, you're going to have different threats. One of those is going to be the financial competitors currently in that market, meaning local banks, other banks that are trying to take your customers, so on and so forth. So that could be one definite threat to this company. Now, the second threat is the threat of cyber terror attacks. Back in 2013, there was something called the Coordinated Denial of Service attacks. They shut down this bank, they shut down two other banks, and left them inaccessible for over 90 minutes. And I'm sure you're aware of the phrase "time is money." They lost a lot just with the downtime alone. So this is definitely a threat. And the next threat is regulation reform. Now, Donald Trump has said that he assured the nation he would appeal the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform Act, which this helps. By repealing this will not help the consumers for the banking industry. This will get rid of the transparency, this will get rid of accountability, and this is definitely seen as a threat. However, the benefit, as some banks may see, as that this grants the opportunities for bailouts again, which may hurt customers. And I believe that if he does repeal that, it will hurt and cause consumers to not trust the financial industry. Thank you.
Hello, My name is Alex Ledesma, and I am going to be talking with you today about some of the operational strategies that Chase employs. And I'm also going to be talking with you about their market activity on the US stock market. And we're going to be going into a little bit of detail about some of Chase's main competitors in the US market. So just to talk briefly about the strategies that Chase employs in regards to operations, there's a few main strategies that were shown on the JP Morgan Chase website. And obviously this applies to all sectors of Chase's business dealings. They do personal banking, they do business banking, they do mortgaging, and they do stocks and investments. So these kind of basic operational strategies are really what apply to the company as a whole. Obviously, Chase is going to operate with high standards of performance. They want their employees to perform with the highest ethical and moral considerations while still being productive. They employ financial rigor and risk discipline. They want to make sure that they are fiscally responsible and that they are mitigating any risks that come their way. They have the best internal governance and controls, which just means that they run a tight ship, and it's really a form of checks and balances within their company so that they can make sure that they're being compliant. They act like owners and partners. They don't just act like they're the business. They want to know that, that each employee in the company owns what they do, and they're regarded more as partners than as employees. They want to build and maintain the best, most efficient systems and operations. Obviously, being efficient is what's going to set your company apart in the vast marketplace of banking. Having discipline, and then executing skill and urgency. Obviously, you want to do your job, you want to do it well, but you want to do it as quickly as possible, and you want to do it while executing the highest level of skill that your employees might possess. So up next, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the strategies that Chase's main competitor employs. On the Bank of America main website, they talk about being customer driven, being a great place to work, managing risk, which is one that was similar to what was on Chase's website, operational excellence, which again draws similarity to what was on Chase's website, and then delivering for shareholders. That's one thing that wasn't mentioned on Chase's website that I thought stood out to me. Yes, they're wanting to view themselves as partners, but they didn't really mention anything about performing for their kind of end benefactors as a company. And then a stark contrast between Bank of America, Chase, and Wells Fargo. On the Wells Fargo website, there was actually no operational or strategy information located on their website. Now, in all fairness, their website looks like it had just undergone a kind of restructure, so it's possible that that information might still be missing, but nothing was visible. So just to talk with you a little bit about Chase's performance in the stock market, this is a 5-year kind of graph of the S&P 500 index, which basically just shows the progress that Fortune 500 companies have made in the past 5 years. Obviously, since late 2011 until 2016, there's been a general uptick, basically a 71% point increase in the past 5 years. That's probably in relation to the 2008 recession that we experienced and the recovery from that. Looking at Chase specifically, kind of follows the same pattern over the past 5 years. They've had a 130 percentage point increase. So very similar to other Fortune 500 companies. Bank of America as well. They've had a 5-year 206 percentage point increase, but definitely on a different scale from Chase. The growth has been faster, but the amount is not as big. And then for Wells Fargo, their other competitor, also generally in the same direction, but Wells Fargo is actually the one who year to date for 2016, they've actually had a decrease. So overall, over the past 5 years, they've had a 101 point increase, but overall for 2016, they've had a 4.86% decrease in stock performance. And again, that's probably contributed to the Wells Fargo scandal that happened in the past couple of months, really affecting their company and affecting the way that customers trust their bank and utilize their services. So definitely is noted. And, you know, kind of going back to Chase and to Bank of America, I'm sure that any type of issues or scandals that those banks had over the past 5 years are evidenced by the kind of ebbs and flows of the market for those specific banks. So next, just to briefly talk about kind of analyzing the way that Chase does business in comparison to its competitors. Overall, looking at, you know, the stock trends, looking at the S&P overall averages, it looks like Chase is kind of generally headed in the same positive direction since the 2008 housing market crisis and the 2008 recession. But this piece of data that I found online from amcharts.com, shows that overall competitors have had a net income growth of 23.60% this year, whereas Chase displays a negative 0.834% net income growth this year. So a little bit of a surprise, really, when comparing the stock data to this data, but you know, that's really the way that the banking industry works. And it's possible that different strategies can be implemented in order for Chase to improve their performance in this arena. But overall, looking at the stock data, it looks like they're doing relatively well in comparison to their competitors. Next, you're going to have Jeff Rocha discuss with you a little bit about some of the core concepts that Chase employs and that we've learned about in this course. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jeff Rocha, and I'm going to be talking to you about Chase and their core concepts. So of course, everybody knows that Chase has a variety of different core concepts, but I decided to only go over 3. So the first 3 that I'm going to be talking to you about is going to be value chain, differentiation strategy, and corporate social responsibilities. Like I said, there's plenty more, but for this project, I decided to choose those 3. So the very first one, of course, is value chain. And what's the definition of value chain? Value chain is all the various activities that a company performs internally to form value chain. And the intent of that is to create value for a customer. And how does Chase do that? So I feel like some of the things that I found out were they created brochures and marketing info to make sure that they have the right information for a customer and the customer can read what they're getting into. They also have banker support. So for example, if a banker doesn't know how to open a will, has a legal question, they can always have somebody to call. They can help them with any situation. And lastly, sign agreements and signature cards. I think this is something that's in the back of what Chase has to offer that creates value for our actual customer. And how do they create that value? Again, through these brochures, you can see that they have here a lot of different information. And of course, they have the call center to make sure that, you know, again, if you don't know how to open an estate account, you know, this is definitely one of those things that you'll need. And I think Chase has this, again, like in the background, you don't really know that they have this, but, you know, if you need something, a notary, you know, this is a place that they can go to and call and talk to you. And everybody has already known about what's going on with Wells Fargo and the lawsuits they're having. So I kind of wanted to throw this in here because that way you can understand the difference between what Chase has and what Wells Fargo has. So Wells Fargo kind of created this bad culture, and what they did was started making these employees hit these unrealistic goals. And what happens when you're trying to get these unrealistic goals is you start to become unethical to try to meet it and keep your job. And there was never no checks and balances. So the difference between what I found out at Chase, well, I actually used to work there, so I know this firsthand, is that Chase used to always, you always had to go to your manager after opening up an account, savings account, IRA, whatever it was. You had to let your manager know what was going on. You couldn't just open it up just to open it up, in other words. And the signature cards is one of the things that are at the end, because without that signature card, an account was not allowed to be open. And I think that's some of the things that Wells Fargo didn't do, and that's the reason why they got into a lot of trouble. So all the back end stuff that Chase does kind of keeps them away from being in the news and things of that nature. The next core concept that I wanted to talk to you about was kind of the 5 generic competitive strategies. And I decided that Chase is more of a differentiation strategy is what they use. And I kind of broke it down into 3 different things that I felt like were a little bit more different than other banks. But again, there's a variety of different ones. I just decided to choose conveniences, technologies, and private client banking. So of course, Chase's conveniences, what makes it a bank that you want to be with is that it's convenient. And what are some of those things that make it convenient? They have over 5,200 branches, which makes them second to Wells Fargo right now. They have over 16,000 ATM, which actually is putting them in first place in that. They're in 24 states. You can link your business and checking accounts together so you can transfer money to make it easier. There's a variety of different credit cards that you can apply for to help build your credit. They have the mobile apps that are work for Droid and the iPhone. And they have mobile banking. Like I said, you can transfer money back and forth to accounts. You can send money through Chase QuickPay, which really helps it be more convenient. They have a variety of different accounts. For example, they have some for veterans that helps them with discounts and things like that. And also for high school students, which is something that a lot of banks don't do. And the technology aspect, we've talked about their mobile banking. You can have your IRA, your investments, your checking accounts, your business accounts. You have everything linked up to here. Find out where the local ATM is or the nearest branch to you. I think that's something that Chase has always tried to be an industry leader in, and I think they've always excelled. They also have this new ATM that's called the eATM, in which you are, it's pretty much a teller, a computerized teller. You're allowed to deposit checks, cash. You can withdraw money in different varieties. It's not only just 20s. You can pull out $100 bills if you need, or if you just want nothing but ones. This new ATM is allowed to do that. So I think that's definitely one of the things that Chase has always been able to do, is provide that new technology. And the last thing is that Chase QuickPay that I was talking to you about earlier. I think this is one of the most fantastic things that they had out there. And if I'm not mistaken, Chase was the first one to actually introduce this. And you can send money from one person to another person with Chase QuickPay by just sending an email. If you have Chase, you get it the same day. If you don't have Chase and you have Bank of America or Wells Fargo, you get it in 2 business days. So it's not only just limited to Chase customers. So I think that's one of the things that makes it very popular. They also have private client banking, and I think private client banking is something that a lot of banks don't do, and it's for affluent customers who have a daily balance of $250,000 or more. And what this is you have a personal licensed banker at your disposal at all times. So for example, if you need to make an investment, you need to move some money, wire some money from here to another bank, you have somebody that you can call who's capable of doing this for you, and you can actually have them at an actual branch. So I think this is definitely something that helps be more convenient for a lot of these customers. So it has a lot of perks for it. And again, this is for some of the higher class customers. And the last core concept that I'm going to be talking to you about is our corporate social responsibility. And I feel like Chase really goes above and beyond in this aspect. So this picture right here is the city of Detroit. And if a lot of y'all don't know, Chase decided to invest $100 million into Detroit. And they decided to split it up, in $50 million going into housing and commercial projects, and the other $50 million going into the workforce. So this is no other bank has ever done something like this. So they're pretty much putting their money where their mouth is. They want this city to come back from the ruins, and a lot of small businesses are allowed to come here and get some of these loans to help the city prosper. Some other things that they're doing as well is helping out the veterans. I think that's one of the major things that I like about Chase is they invested in $45 million in program and initiatives for veterans. They created this veterans job mission. What it is they got with a variety of different other companies to create jobs for these veterans. So you can work at Chase, and if there's something that you're lacking in skills, this is where they can go to acquire those skills and help them move along so they can get back to civilian life. So another thing that I really like about this is that they're helping the underprivileged youth. Not a lot of banks can say that they are doing that right now. So they're investing $5 million in the next 2 years to help out kids that are ages from 13 to 24 in summer programs. And a lot of the summer, a lot of the programs in summers, you see kids working at the malls and stuff like that. And I think this is one of the things that I feel like it really is their responsibility, and they're taking it to that next level. They want to create that skill gap that that's going on in our society right now. So, for example, if you have a kid getting out of school, they're able to go to this and for summer and learn a lot of things that you probably don't get to learn at Walmart or at Chick-fil-A. So I definitely like the fact that 75% of these students are going to be minorities. So that really helps out these underprivileged children and help them get ahead when they most likely they wouldn't. And in conclusion, Chase has been in business for over 200 years, and they've always been an industry leader. And I want to leave you with this graph here at the bottom. And if you can see their physical year since 2004 to 2014, you can see the dip in 2008 where the market crashed. But as you can see, it has jumped up and continued to grow from there. So I really want to thank you all for listening to this video, and I hope you got some insight from it. Thank you.